Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I've had a few of you ask lately what my writing process is like, so welcome to my chaotic mind, where I get random ideas at 2 a.m. in the morning and also my mother questions my life choices. Here is the deal. I am definitely a pantser. Plotting, outlining, actually knowing what's going to happen in the story before I start writing, no, not a chance. Doesn't happen with me. As you may all know, I have ADHD, so my writing process is extremely chaotic. My mammy absolutely hates it. She's still waiting for the finale in my first series while I'm running off like 5 other ideas. Probably sometimes think to yourself, how many projects does an author tend to have on the go? The answer for me is definitely a lot. I've got a contemporary romance that I'm currently writing, which will be 4 books. I have another fantasy series in the works, which is 2 books. I've got a prequel series for my Stag and Hollow Chronicles. In my mind at the moment, there's probably about 15 books to write. I currently have about 9 whips. You are probably asking yourself, why do I do this to myself? It is because as soon as a scene pops up in my head, I have to write it down. I can't ever write in order, like chapter 1 to chapter 53. I have to write what appears in my visual brain. And that's exactly how we end up with half a dozen unfinished manuscripts. Don't judge me. My writing routine does differ on the daily. Here is my writing space. By here, right in the centre of my living room, so there is no like insulation from the day-to-day of my life. Typically on a good day, after I've dropped the kids off at school, I will get ready for the day, get myself ready, maybe film some content first, make myself a cup of tea because I am a tea lover, get comfy, and then enter what I call ADHD hyperfocus zone. When I'm really in the zone and I'm really hyperfocused, I could probably crank out about 5,000 words by mid-afternoon. However, that does depend on my disabilities. I am a chronic illness girly, so if it is one of those days, it probably would just be Netflix and naps. Pros and cons of being the chaotic demon that I am. Number 1, there is never a dull moment. If a story bores me, I can just flick to another manuscript and start working on that one. Number 2, hyperfocus can make me super productive. As I said, I can crank out like 5,000 words in one day, which, as my husband likes to remind me, that is like half a dissertation. The cons, however, number 1, juggling multiple manuscripts means I often finish books slower or not at all at the moment. Number 2, I sometimes have no idea what is going on in my plot until I'm in the middle of it. So my plot does change a bit as I'm writing, but I do feel like that is also a benefit and it's more organic. I feel like it flows so much better. Number 3, the final con is my mother's side eye. Because she is still waiting for Truth of the Hollow, the finale in my Stag and Hollows series. Sorry, Mum. Honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way, because channeling inspiration the way I do means writing can hit me at any moment, whenever it strikes, and I can write a scene, start a new book. So I really enjoy it. Let's talk about the other side of ADHD, which a lot of you may relate to: procrastination. If you are a chaos demon like me, then you probably know the struggle with choosing a hobby, having something to do. It'll get to that time at night when the kids are in bed and I've actually got some peace and quiet and I'm thinking, now I don't actually know what to do, and my ADHD brain focuses on so many different things, like, do I read? Do I write? Do I catch up on social media? Do I speak to my friends? There's so many things that I end up getting overwhelmed and just sitting there doom scrolling or binge watching something on TV. So here are a few tips that do help me with the procrastination. Body doubling. Now, this isn't something I've participated a lot in, but I do find it helps so much. If you've got someone close to you that can help keep you accountable, whether that's doing a reading or writing sprint with a friend, a fellow book lover, live on TikTok, or me, for example, we have converted our attic space, and that is where my husband works in the evenings on his own projects. So I will sit in the same room, and I find it so much easier to focus on my work because he's working at the same time, if that makes sense. It's weirdly motivating. This is one my husband keeps convincing me to try, and when I have tried it, it has worked, but it's the Pomodoro technique. It basically means writing in 25-minute sprints and then having a 5-minute break, and it just keeps your mind more focused on the task instead of getting distracted. It makes it way less overwhelming than thinking, I have a 4-hour period now that I need to write in. Set micro goals. Instead of telling yourself that you need to write 5,000 words today, think smaller. Think, I'm going to write 500 words, and then reward yourself, whether that's by going and making a nice cup of tea or a coffee or watching TV for 5 minutes. Schedule breaks. If you are a chronic illness girly like me, I do have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, fibromyalgia, and also issues with my spine due to a brain disease. So it is really vital I stretch and move about a bit just to prevent my joints and limbs from stiffening and seizing up, which they do quite often, especially the hands. I think it also just helps reset your focus, which is very important if you're like me and you hyper-focus on a task. If you really struggle with procrastination, you can always, going back to the body doubling thing, you could always have accountability checks, whether that's like a note on your laptop screen or actually have a friend or a PA assistant, if you've got one, message you just to say, hey, did you get any writing done today? Just something simple like that. Like, you have accountability to stay hydrated, think about doing it with your writing as well, and just maybe have a friend or a family member message you to say, hey, have you written anything today? And I should give you a kick up the backside that you need. Whether you're a pantser, a plotter, or someone in between, here are my top pieces of advice to thrive in your own chaotic world. Embrace your process. Stop trying to fit yourself in the mold of someone else. You matter, your process matters, be you, and perfection is overrated. Even if you don't plot out your story thoroughly, keep notes around. I do every now and again. If I get a split second thought, I do jot it down in my phone, in my notes app, just to remind myself later. Or more often than not, I will get a flash of dialogue and I think, oh my God, that dialogue is so good. And I'll just send it to myself in a message, which, if anyone looks through those messages, probably looks and sounds very dodgy, but honestly is one of the best techniques I found to remembering what I want to write down. Adjust your energy levels. If you're having a bad day, if you're having a pain day, it is perfectly fine to take a break. Give yourself some slack and look after yourself. If you're having a really good day, great, write as many words as you can. Celebrate the wins, no matter how small you think they are. You've written 100 words, amazing, pop it on your Instagram story. You've finished a whole chapter, send it to your best mate to read over for you. Like, well done. Celebrate them all. Look, I know my writing process probably seems completely unhinged, as am I. However, it genuinely brings me so much joy and inspiration and creativity. It has literally changed my life. So don't think that if you are an aspiring writer, you've got to be perfectly outlined, you've got to have these perfect plans for your book. I started Prince of the Ancients with chapter 25. I still remember it. It was the very first chapter I ever wrote, and it was playing in my head over and over again, and I just had to put it on paper. And as soon as I did that, another chapter came, and another. They didn't even link up, and then I had a story, I had a world, I had lore, I had characters, and I was just able to put them together. And it seems so much easier to me to do it that way than following a rigid chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And that book, my very first book published, became an international bestseller. So don't force yourself to be perfect. If you have any ADHD procrastination tips of your own, please drop them in the comments below, because they are going to help all of us. And if you enjoyed this peek into my craziness, don't forget to like and subscribe, but I'll see you soon.